Looks like Sara and Nik had absolutely nothing better to do with their time than to sit around and talk about SEO. So naturally, they thought, hey, why not drag everyone else into it too? And thus, this glorious creation was born, a podcast. Now, does it have a name? Of course not. You can call it the Sara and Nik podcast, or perhaps the No Name podcast. Either way, it's pure genius or pure chaos. Probably both. But don't be fooled. These two aren't just sitting around roasting title tags and drinking tea, or spilling it. They're actually very busy people who just happen to really, really love SEO. And since the SEO world is basically always on fire, they decided it's the perfect time to start talking about it. So grab your popcorn and your keyword cannons, folks, because Sara and Nik's No Name podcast is about to begin.
Yeah, so hello. This is another episode of for now No Name podcast that Sara and I taking over the whole SEO and search industry. Today guest is amazing Russ. Russ, I can interview by saying tons of amazing things that I know about you, but I don't want to take that away from you. So if you can please let us know quickly about you, and we can start.
Cool. Okay. Well, thanks, Nik. Thanks, Sara. Thanks for having me. So Nik and I know because he's been on my podcast a couple of times. I've got a podcast called SEO Success Stories. Nik's been on more than once, and Sara is going to be on very soon. So
yes, please.
Yeah, no, 100%. So I've been running that podcast for about 4 years. But my marketing background goes back about 25 years. I started as a copywriter. I've worked in hospitality marketing, experiential events. I was buying AdWords for 6 cents a click in 2001, 2, 3, buying banner ads on dance music websites, hoping that they'd work and having no idea if they did. And I've been in the sort of digital space for about 15 years and kind of heavy in SEO and ads and website optimization and a range of kind of, I'm a generalist with a couple of really strong skill sets, and just really passionate about seeing marketing more as a program with a range of tactics that work together, as opposed to sitting there on my island saying this is the most important channel. Customers don't care what channel they find you on.
Yeah, thank you for that. I said I knew you for a long time, and Sara and I handpicked our first guest. So first and foremost, we can learn a lot from you. 4 years of running podcast is amazing. But more importantly, we are here today to actually discuss about marketing. I just want to Sara, to take over and ask you if she got any interesting question on her mind, and we can kickstart.
Okay, I actually am very interested in knowing how your vision for how SEO and paid can work together. But I also noticed in your interview you said you're a generalist, and it's I really, this is very interesting for me because I try to be I'm trying my best to be an SEO generalist, and I get a lot of questions about it. So my question here, or if there's anything you can share with us, is how are you able to maintain being a generalist? It's a lot of work. Yeah. It's not easy because you're not not zeroed in on a specific area. So how do you manage that?
Yeah, I think there's a book called Range, Range, by an author called David Epstein out of New York. And it talks a lot about how a generalist, in the past, there's always been pick a lane, stay in that lane, go deep, narrow and deep, and become the absolute go-to. And yes, of course, there's people who do that and they're amazing. But some people take more of a windy route. I like to say I took the scenic route in my career. I've done everything, like I mentioned at the start there. I've worked in pubs, I've DJ'd, I've owned my own companies. I've done a range of different things. So I've picked up a lot of skills along the way. So I think, you mentioned how do you keep up with that type of generalist, not just mindset, but skill set. And I think if you're a curious person, which I'm very, very curious, it comes naturally. What can happen with generalists though is you become like a master of none, and you become someone who just who just knows lots of interesting things. They're really good at the trivia night. So if you want to invite them along, but they're also just, potentially just working at a petrol station or at a Blockbuster Video back in the day. So I think being a generalist, but being able to, follow that passion down 1, 2, 3 separate lanes and go deeper in those is going to give you a much better success rate, because it does give you something to push that generalist agenda, not that it's an agenda, but that generalist mindset forward, as opposed to just knowing lots of stuff, but not knowing enough to actually make a career out of any of them. For me, like the sales is a very strong background of mine. I've been a marketer and a copywriter for a long time as well. And so sort of combining those two has helped me have, I would say, more of and also growing up in small business. My parents own small businesses. I think I've just got more of a revenue focus towards marketing and towards business in general. So hence why I like to understand how the channels play together. I like to understand how the different touch points on a buyer journey are connected and how we can influence those touch points. I like to, randomly, I'm watching this TV show now called The Diplomat, and I find it really interesting how she makes these really big, statements, but then she feels very confident enough to backpedal from them if she hears other ideas. That's actually, that's right, I hadn't thought of that. So if we take that direction, and I like to think that as much as I can go, gung ho in one direction, that curious mindset and being open to other ideas, especially in an age right now where marketing is changing so quickly, just helps me get maybe just a bit ahead of the curve with our clients and even with the marketers in my team, because I am probably just always open to thinking there might be a better way to do things.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I really love that. Also, we're gonna check the book regarding the TV show. I actually I'm familiar with it, and I really love it. So that explains a lot. Even from those things, I guess nowadays, but I would even say always from books and TV shows and stuff like that. If you're looking from that point of view, you can always learn more things and think about the different ideas. That's the point of those mediums. At the end of the day, regarding this, I just want to add one question, or actually to make it more related to our topic today. So we talked, and I don't want to jinx it, because people should go and watch your podcast with me when we discussed about changes, LLMs and stuff like that. I guess you said being generalist right now it's very beneficial. So what's your take on that? Because we just agreed on that even SEO nowadays cannot be only single way of doing marketing, and for success in LLMs, you need to have omni-channel marketing strategy. So do you think that generalist is the way for the future regarding agency? Because a lot of people that listen here maybe want to start agency or are part of agencies, and we hear every day SEO is dead, agency work is dead, AI agents will replace us all. So what's your take on that very, very trendy topics nowadays?
Yeah, so I think that specialists are crucial and will always be needed, but I think the generalists will be the leaders. So the generalists are going to be the ones that are looking more broadly across what's happening, platforms, technology, new things that are coming. They're the I wouldn't even say 10,000-foot view, but they're the ones that are poking their head out of the water and looking to see where things are going. But then they have to get back underneath, and they have to get those specialists pushing in a direction that they feel that the industry, that the product, that the customer is heading. So that's kind of my, I guess, a differentiation there between, I'm not saying one is more important than the other, but I know, the question was around how does a generalist fit into this? And I think also, I think a generalist fits in by being the visionary. I don't really like that word, but the lead, the directional leader. But I think also, SEO is becoming general, because we were dealing with one. This is a funny thing, right? So we've been dealing with one platform, with one algorithm, frankly, for 25 years, 20 years, right? Bing popped up, and there's Yandex, there's other different bits and pieces, but it's really been Google. If you're an SEO, you are SEO in Google. And there was a long period of time where link builders were the most important part of SEO, then content was the most important part, and technical SEO is the most important part. You've got to know Python or you're not an SEO. It's like SEO's always wanted to have one kind of silver bullet specialization lane. But, obviously as the algorithms gotten more clever within Google, all of those different tactics and skills have to learn to play together. But now all of a sudden, we're not just talking about Google. We're talking about LLMs, ChatGPT, Claude. We're talking about, TikTok getting found on Amazon. There's a range of places where there's a search engine, and it's a big conversation point for that I've been on the speaking tour this year around the country here in the US, just around the fact that anywhere there's a search bar, there's demand. And where there's demand, there's an opportunity to optimize for that visibility, whether that's paid, running ads, or whether that's organically. What are we doing with our content, with our website, with our directory listing to help us get found more? So I think that SEO as a skill set is actually becoming more generalized. And I think it's becoming more accepted that it's not just, I'm an SEO, I understand Google. So I'm an SEO and there's search happening on a range of different platforms. And I'm the generalists, the one who are kind of open to that, are the ones who are taking big steps forwards, big steps forward. And frankly, the ones who are more interesting, there's so many SEO influencers out there now, thought leaders on X and on LinkedIn. The ones I find more interesting are the ones who are talking about where users are and how user behavior is changing and how that informs channel selection, tactics, forward-thinking strategy.
Absolutely. I'm not sure, Sara, do you have anything to add on this take? Because I completely agree with this. Also, as agency owner, I also I would just like to add that I really think that the agency they have their place in the future of marketing. I really think even besides AI agents or doing more general work that agency that can bring experience and everything. I'm not feeling like that AI agent with junior or first timer employed under some startup and stuff like that will actually make the difference. And I really think that we can combine with everything that's happening around us and basically be futuristic in that way to actually stay in the game. So Sara, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I like that you mentioned multi-platforms and where the users are: Reddit, YouTube, TikTok, wherever they're searching, Perplexity, of course, ChatGPT, all of these things. And I mean, right now, Google is still dominant and the SERPs is still dominant, but in terms of SEO, I'm not saying dominant in general because users are all over the place, but I mean, YouTube is the second largest search engine if you skip image search. So there are other platforms that we now need to look at and incorporate in our strategy because they actually matter in search, right? Even you cannot be zeroed in on the SERPs no more and ignore everything that's happening. I still feel as a community we have not done, or as an industry we have not done this shift. It's still not common for people to come in and say, hey, let's look at your YouTube or let's look at your Reddit or as part of our day-to-day SEO work.
Yeah, agreed. I think the brand side marketers are the one doing that, and they're coming to agencies asking for help. Do you know how to get found? I know this is an agency owner. We've got a brand, taco brand that we work with, where they had a competitor who was just showing up for a particular term that they wanted to be showing up for on TikTok. And now they came to us to try to get an understanding of is this something you guys do? Can you help on this front? And we do have someone in-house who has, content creation and those types of skills and very good at the social side of getting found. But funnily enough, that conversation didn't go very far because they had no organic content in their TikTok feeds. So there wasn't much for us to audit, or it was you actually needed to go from the ground up. But kind of lost my train of thought there. But I just think it's a really interesting time. And I think whether you're trying to get found organically or whether you are trying to figure out how to get a touch point with your customers by paid means, and I grew up loving ads. I grew up singing jingles and trying to understand the meaning behind, why certain brands were connecting in certain ways. I just think it's such a cool time to be a marketer, to be honest. It's fascinating.
Okay, since you are a generalist and we don't get to meet generalists and, ask them questions a lot, what are your thoughts on the conversion rate from LLMs? Because there is some debate. Some people say this is going to be better because users already did the research, and I've seen like just today another research saying no, it's not, and it actually is just a bit better than organic social and social. And I know organic social, like I've had a discussion in the past, and organic social is like one of the worst conversion.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, Nik, I'm not gonna dominate. I just was too excited. So sorry.
Yeah. My thoughts are we are so early days in, I think, making a big call. Like there has been big. Here's the thing though, the big calls have been, ChatGPT traffic converts much higher because it's much more considered. So says a CMO of a tech brand with early adopter customers. Like you're talking about such a very specific subset, a specific audience and a specific product where text-based recommendations make sense to buy that product. Like, am I going to buy my Tesla because, not that I own a Tesla, but you know what I mean? Like it's so ridiculous to say that it does better for everyone. We are so early in, and there's so many different variations in terms of product and customer and what needs to happen for that transaction to happen. So I think in the long term, and then the fact that we're still just talking about text-based, like for most of it, generative AI is just, a lot of people prefer images and videos and all sorts of things. And I know the LLMs are going to get better at providing that over time, but where we are right now, you can't fast forward too far ahead with confidence. Like there's just a lot of bold statements being made right now about very, very small pieces of data that are kind of ridiculous. But I understand them because if you are selling, if you do work in that space where there is proof, then okay, then you want to try to, chase that down yourself. But I think it depends on the industry, it depends on the product. It depends. There you go. There's a classic SEO answer.
It depends. Yeah, I actually have a lot of interesting things that to say about this. But I try to be very short. My always approach to everything is to test it. Hypothesis, test it, and when you test it, then you can conclude from that. And I basically always from the beginning I call the founders, the business owners, and everyone just test it and just try to logically answer if this is important for your career. If you ask me for any technical perspective or any strategy perspective, I can give you my opinion. But the problem is that a lot of people skip that crucial step that they actually for their own needs reverse engineer for example one question that they had. So it was very interesting story. I found actually a very bizarre story. I found a very nice let's say a piece of cloth on Instagram, and I tried to get from LLM answer perplexity and GPT even AI mode. I used to answer to actually ask LLMs to give me the specific brand. I really love that T-shirt, for example. And then limitation hits. We cannot give you name of the brand. We cannot even recognize the logo. And actually, constantly was pushing me over. And then I'm super persistent. So I tried for 1 hour straight. And I tried to get that part, and technically, after 1 hour, I said, this is not working. I went on Instagram and I found via Instagram exact brand, and basically that was it. But me as a user in that situation, I was okay, this is very bad. Even for this direct thing, I want this T-shirt. Give me this brand. Just give me piece of information that will be very fast forward to cut short my user journey. I couldn't use LLM for that. So as you said, I really think that it depends, and that's the worst answer that anyone can hear. But the point is, if they first and foremost, it's 1.8% of all traffic that's coming from LLMs, so that's still fraction of the data.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you cannot conclude from that part. And second thing, I really think it's still so limited in let's say in case of possibilities that we can use LLMs for that I cannot stand behind any so-called research data that shows that LLMs are so good for the business and that you're going to lose millions if you're not there right now.
And I think the thing is, it's all moving so fast. Like we're going to try to by the time someone gets one of these big studies done, like ChatGPT's already got the Shopify API. Like they're going to move so far past, and it's going to seem silly. And it is because it's all moving so fast. So a lot of the big questions we have now, in 6 months, 12 months, 2 years time, are just going to be irrelevant because, I mean, they just started their own browser like this week. You know, like they're moving so fast that it's just like trying to keep up and trying to figure out as a brand, how do we, like, do we get on this? How is there a business case to get on this? Is there opportunity? Are we talking organic? Are we talking ads? Like, how do we not get left behind? And I think that's the big concern for brands is not getting left behind. But I guess and then because of that, there's lots of, let's be frank, there's lots of agencies out there selling snake oil to try to get people on.
That was actually my question. I have two interesting, maybe potential, controversial questions that I want to ask you. So let's start with one that's, I guess, pretty short. So the point is, what's your opinion? We saw, because you're in agency business, I'm in agency business. Sara is also working on as consultant on the side of her full time. So my point is whenever I look nowadays, I see SEO tools, I see Aerops, I see agencies. They're all pushing forward. We're gonna give the audit how to be present in LLMs. We're gonna give you the insights on that, and then I just kind of ask one question hey, we still cannot follow prompts that specific brands are mentioned. So what's the point of those? Do you think that there is some agenda of false advertisement that people actually pushing in the SEO industry currently regarding LLMs and regarding things that actually matter in LLM era?
Yes.
Yes. So
yeah, there's a lot, 100%. Because so we just built recently on our side a multi-platform SEO page, right? And we wrote the content and kind of happy with it. Then we thought, okay, we'll see what else is out there. And you do some what's ranking for GEO, AEO, multi-platform SEO, LLM SEO. Let's just see what's out there. And everyone's just regurgitating the same stuff that they're pulling out of ChatGPT, which is then just summarizing all the rubbish that's out there. So I just think that there's a handful of agencies that are actually running experiments and that are actually using an evidence-based approach. When I say a handful, I reckon 1%, honestly. Like 99% of the agencies out there are just trying to increase the size of the retainer or protect their current retainers, make sure that they're showing their clients they are forward-thinking and they're working in this space, which I understand. We're running businesses. The ground is shifting underneath us, and they're trying to show their clients, "No, you're safe. The ground is shifting, but I've got you." They're putting their arms around and making them feel safe. But are they actually putting the R&D work in to get it done? No.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's a very good point you're bringing, Russ. I think we need, even as in-house, we need to be testing things and analyzing things all the time. It's shifting. Everything is changing. Yes, big part is still what it is, but there's a lot of things coming in, and we can't just keep the same mindset. And we need to also have answers for stakeholders, and we can't just do that without looking at the data, our data, because whatever anyone else is saying, it does not necessarily work for us, right? And I really liked what you said, conversion rate on ChatGPT or whatever. For who, right? Like B2B, B2C, e-commerce, even in e-commerce, there's a lot of small differences here and there, and they make a huge difference.
Yeah, totally.
And another question that is also kind of tricky or can be tricky is the question regarding paid ads, and SEO query. But from your perspective, and you said that you really get along with paid ads. It is kind of similar way with myself, and I started in 2015 with my journey. But the point was how you imagine to see paid ads in for example AI era. I know that they are still struggling to monetize that. I know that we still didn't get clear way of presentation of sponsored ads or posts in GBT and stuff like that. So what do you think about that topic? Because I think honestly, I never saw like discussion about that, like what's going to happen with paid in LLM era.
Yeah, I think that I don't have an answer. I think they'll figure it out. I know they'll figure it out. I know there's going to be, if you just look at the way the SERP looked, the Google SERP looked from 2000 through 2010, and the amount of changes from where the shopping was to how, where the links were, how many links, it's I mean, it's still changing a lot. And then I actually just listened to a podcast recently, acquired the podcast on Google, the AI company. And they've been sitting on a lot of this technology for a long time, going, we can't monetize it. So let's just put it over here. We'll use it for the algorithm, for other bits and pieces. But in terms of the ad space we're in, it doesn't really help. So they've kind of, they were deliberately not sort of pushing that forward. But obviously they are now with AI mode and the fact that that's at some point going to become the default. So the question is, where do I think ads fit in? I don't know, but I do know that it's going to come through a lot of experimentation. Google's the biggest. We just talked about how important these other channels are, because that your buyer journey touches across a range of channels, and especially the younger generations who use Google less. So my kids, for example, will go to TikTok, or mainly TikTok when they're searching for stuff. So there is a change happening, but Google is the gorilla in the room and will be for the foreseeable future. But what it has is, with that huge mass of audience, it's got the best opportunity to figure out how to monetize the ads within AI mode.
I agree with that. I had also a question for you and Sara, if you can give me your takes regarding that. Like, do you think that let's say intent of LLMs, at least how I'm using it with most of people that I communicate with, is to actually ask questions. So I want to get some information, or as I said, to find some brand or to find some recipe or stuff like that. So do you think that paid ads and sponsored ads will be part of the answer? Like, hey, we recommended this, so we're gonna see sponsored link, for example. Or do you think it will be like, again, this is just guessing because we don't know and we're gonna figure it out, but like, it's very interesting question for me. Like, or do you think that it's gonna be like clearly separated, like sponsored stuff? Because like, I'm not sure if I want to find information that I'm gonna even like take a look at sponsored stuff, if that's not like organically incorporated in the answer. So if you need to guess, like both of you, what you think about that? I think it's very interesting question.
My guess would be that when they start running ads inside AI mode and then the other LLMs, they will start just very much at the bottom funnel. Like, I want to buy a pair of running shoes. What's the best 5 running shoes for a guy my age who runs this far? So I think that just using their understanding of NLP and the way the phrase happens and the intent behind the phrase, they will only serve, and they have to, because they have to keep people inside it and they have to not give a bad experience. I believe that they'll roll out the ads only for really, really bottom funnel terms, which is an interesting thing, because it was only probably 6 months ago when we were saying, don't worry, LLMs is all top funnel. They're, it's that information you don't have to worry about, but they're very, very quickly moving further and further down the buyer journey.
Yeah, for me, I think what I'm seeing right now, there's a pattern. They're copying Google a lot of times. Even their recent Atlas browser, I didn't try it, but what I'm seeing people say is it's if you search, or it's basically giving Google results, right? So what I'm seeing is they're gonna copy the way Google show ads. Google set the standard sort of for the internet, right? So I'm seeing they're gonna be something similar. I'm also imagining at some point maybe they would act like a marketplace and have a commission affiliate situation there that can also work with their links if they're showing something. So that's a possibility as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for that. I really think that we need to wait for that. I'm more also interested about the interface of showing that, because like from one way, I know that they need organically to make it, because like then ads using the purpose, no one gonna like look at them. At second way, I'm not sure that I want to get from LLM like super like sponsored ad that I know it's not relevant. So based on this, Russ, what are your thoughts regarding like the latest update from Google? Like I know that a lot of people Actually, and I mean here not update regarding like general update, but like removing non-100 and 100 results. And so right now they can only load 10 results, stuff like that. So for me that was like pretty defensive, and I also like follow what Sara had to say about that on LinkedIn. So the whole point, I really think like yeah, my question is, what do you think? Like, was that like defensive, move by Google, and they said like, hey, you cannot crawl for free anymore, like 100 results that we show for specific term, or do you think that's like something besides that? As I know, as an agency owner, it was like hell on earth to explain sudden drop in impressions overnight and everything that we need to report as agency. So what's your thoughts on that? And Sara, you can also like share your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding, and I don't know if this is how they phrased it or if I read this anywhere, but my understanding was a lot of it was about the resources needed to have all of those pages load, not to necessarily load, but be an option. And the fact that AI mode and all these LLMs need so much more grunt that as they start to shift more and more people into AI mode, the resources needed to serve that were getting wasted. They weren't able to put the grunt behind what they needed to get the AI mode where it needs to be, especially as it evolves, especially as it gets more user adoption over the next few months. Now, that sounds like, as I'm saying that out loud, it sounds like a very Google shareholder thing to say, like that they're just protecting the future path of the platform and not in a way that impacts users very much. So, but I don't know, that was kind of my read on it. But
okay. So you don't think it's defensive move against the whole LLM wave that we experienced?
To be honest, I hadn't heard that take, and it makes sense as well. That's the first time I've heard it. So yeah.
There's so many things and so many takes out there. It's hard to keep track of everything, but we try. And I think it's a defensive move. Definitely, Google doesn't like. So I mean, Google it has to share 2 screenshots of its data according to the lawsuit and that sort of thing. And I know they're not obviously happy about it. Some people say, hey, what if they don't have the data anymore? Like, right, like they're playing things and moving things and change things. So I think this is part of that, right?
I also need to admit, like, as like ChatGPT user from very first days, it's horrible. Like it's horrible. I'm not sure. Like lately, it's horrible. I'm not sure. Like, is that actually the reason of that? Or maybe like they change something within their own algorithm. But for me personally, like in the last few weeks, it's like again borderline unusable. So I really think that like they affected with that a lot of results. Like again, we all like Russell. That's amazing. Like yeah, I really like right now. Also, I can see like how broad you're like thinking going, because like they also shoot in their own leg with Reddit, as Reddit stocks tanked because like Reddit like over the night wasn't anymore like the most cited source in LLMs because they like actually removed that. Like I'm not sure like how many like I saw like data that like for example 50, 60 or 70% of results from 10 to 100 position was Reddit chats. So basically they as company that have interest in that, I mean on Google there, they actually did that anyway. So because of that, there was like my take that it was kind of defensive move. But yeah,
I think this is a reminder that Google can pull the rug from underneath anyone any point. So listicles, for example, are really big in search, and LLMs, of course, this can change overnight. We are building our strategies, or this is the best we can do right now. Like personally, I'm trying to get my newsletter listed in as many listicles as possible. I'm trying to grow it, and then maybe that would make it show in LLMs answers and so on. But that's not a sustainable strategy. In the long run, this may not work anymore, right?
Yeah. I actually based on. Sorry, Russ, do you want to jump in there?
On listicles? Sorry, I'm just curious. What do you think of the practice of, let's say me, right? If I was to say top 10 e-commerce marketing agencies or top 10 e-commerce SEO agencies, whatever, in Austin, and I do a list and I put impressive as number one, like it just seems so ridiculous that is, but it works. So I'm wondering, like, what do you think? Are you encouraging your clients to do that, or do you do that internally, Sarah, or is it something you're trying to play a long game with?
If I get a client and that's a possible use case, I will recommend it because it is working right now. It doesn't have to be like in a low quality spammy way, and it's okay to list yourself. I mean, your content is promoting yourself after all, and I mean, it's clear someone is on your website, you list yourself. It's everyone does that. But I would do it, and I'm looking into it, right? I'm trying to, and I think the thing with LLMs, they look at a lot of those listicles, so you need to be on a lot of them. One is not enough unless you like go very specific to a very specific, top SEO tools for agencies in e-commerce, for example, right? If you narrow it down, maybe it's easy to get cited.
Got it.
I had also there like very again interesting story. So I guess like today it's my day for that, and that's like we can like I have one more question for you. So I would like also Sara to ask you if she gets something more on her plate so that we can like come close to this amazing episode. But I have a story regarding that. Like one huge startup. Actually, they raised Series C, I guess. I cannot like query mention the name. So they said like, hey man, like, can you like do whatever you did for your agency? And long story short, as you know that. We just started our agency website like in April this year. So it is kind of like shame as I'm like running agency 5 years. But I guess it's good because we live of referrals and good results. Anyway, there. What we did, make listicle and push it via LinkedIn pools, via Medium, our own website, and we had like 1 or 2 guest posts, only on 5 places. And the guy actually found Get Stuff Digital as one of the best geo agencies. And when I explained to him, because like, hey, I'm not one of those thought leaders that will like do everything for money. I'm not like that. Like clients come first and results query. So he was so like I'm not gonna say depressed, but he was so like like what is that like really what you did? And I said yeah. So the point was that like query, as you mentioned, the taco client, we didn't like went far in that discussion, but it was like a very very funny. So basically, my last question for you. Is we saw like a lot of black hat methods. We saw that like for example in SEO for LLMs, however you call that, the geo or whatever. There is like basically strategies as like again spamming keywords, listicles, and again those listicles are like subjective. It's not objective by any means. So be mentioned like what like X times if you can do that, like do this, do that, start Reddit and inject false information to some extent. So it is pretty black hat and it's pretty working. So what you think about those strategies and what you think about everything there that you are suggesting to your clients, and do you even practice all of those black hat methods as agency? So that would be my last question for today for you.
So I would say just the term black hat in general is only something that we really coin after the fact, like after everyone says it's bad. Do you know what I mean? Like when you talk to an SEO from 2008 who was building PBNs and you go, that was black hat. They go, that was SEO all the time. No one said it was wrong. That was just the way you wanted to get, your job was to get your site found, and it got found. So my question around that is, my answer to your question is, if it helps now, yes. If it's if it's actually good for the user, and if there is also, like, I wouldn't want that to be my whole strategy. Let's just build out 20 listicles for different use cases and build everything around that. And then just what's the money roll in? Like that would be part of a broader strategy, which is user focused, which is, with the content and technical and all the other bits and pieces that come into a strategy. So you want to play the short game and the long game. Just the label of black hat, it's black hat because it's old school. It really is. It's the stuff that used to work really well. And then we said it was wrong. But that's just SEO. You're doing your job of trying to get your site mentioned, found, linked to, etc.
That's fair. Sara, you can give us your thoughts, and could you ask us like if you have any more questions there, so that you can finish.
Actually,
Slow.
I have a suggestion. How if we wrap this by everyone saying what they're working on? Like you don't need to give specifics, but like what is one thing you're working on right now? I can go first. Today, something on my list is I want to do like a forecast for an upcoming event. So based on historical data, so we can measure up like how we perform against that. That's what I'm on my list today.
Cool.
Russ, do you want to end? Or
yeah, I can go. So the reason I was a little bit late for this was we have one of our clients doing 2026 planning, and they've asked us for an indicative budget for SEO, content, links, paid, and a range of different paid channels. So I've had the team this week putting together what they believe, and today I like them to do all the grunt work, and then I come in, I QA it, and I question it. But we need to get it ready.
You should have started with that. We could have spent the entire episode talking about budgeting for SEO.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And a lot of it's like a lot of it's you have one bad quarter in SEO, and the account. Oh, he might listen to this. I'm just going to say it. The account director's like shitting his pants. Like, oh no, they might drop the SEO. It's like, okay, can we just look at the 15 quarters previously where we hit the KPI 12 times? We're going to be fine. This is a long game. So, yeah, budgeting for a client for next year. That's what I'm on my plate.
Yeah, amazing. And also, like, thank you for giving us like specific topics there. Like today was actually like my very from the morning it was like a crazy day. But on the list was actually like team meetings and working on expanding and upgrading team processes, especially regarding like the content side of the story. We recently started, maybe contrary to any good practice in SEO regarding business side, to offer sprints. I like, again, very interesting topic. It can be like go more in depth regarding what is sprint in SEO. But we actually started to focus more on like 3 months periods when we have like specific sprints and starting to yielding results. As in that way, clients can see, as you Russ said, like magic of SEO like in some very decent time frame, and then we can like kickstart for the long term retainer with them. So Sara, this was amazing.
We're getting better at this, Nik.
We are getting better. So Russ, thanks once again, man. Like it was really like honestly, this was amazing. Like for me, and it was like my wish to actually be on this side, at least once. And I hope that we're gonna have like opportunity to host you like at least once again, as you did with me.
That.
And yeah, it was amazing. A lot of great insights. Thank you for spending your time with us today, and I wish you amazing success in 2026. Let's say like that. We are close to that, so let's say.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you, Sara. Thank you, Nik.
Thanks so much for coming, Ross. I genuinely enjoyed this conversation, and I'm actually going to change the topic of my newsletter inspired by this discussion. So thank you so much for giving me this inspiration. Yep.
Love it.